For those of us Tesla investors who are bulls, the release of full self-driving 12.4 is absolutely critical. Now that some regular customers who are in the early access group are now driving it beyond just the Tesla employees, we can now see whether or not it's going to live up to Elon's promise of 12.4 being 5 to 10 times better. Today, we'll watch 7 videos to see what exactly it can do now that it's never done before and what it's still having troubles with. And as a bonus, we'll review what Tesla's director of autopilot, Ashok Elluswamy, said about robotaxi and Elon. I've got Hans Nelson joining us. He's got his own YouTube channel called Hans C. Nelson. Thank you, Hans.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
We've done so many videos on full self-driving. You are an expert in this area, and we're following it closely. So this is it. We finally got 12.4. It's now sent to early access to some individuals. And what I've done is collected together these 7 videos so we can actually see what it can do, what the bugs are, where it's struggling. Let's start off with the first one here, which is just a quick one. No spots available at destination. So FSD 12.4.1 makes a U-turn and parks across the street. This is something that I thought AI driver had said didn't do with 12.4.1, but it seems like it's doing now. So let's take a look at this. It looks like it's a U-turn cul-de-sac
with lots of cars all over the place. Yeah, not a whole lot of room to do this maneuver.
Yeah, sometimes you have to swing to the right to make it happen, but it did it well. There's a parked car here. Then it decides to park.
And yeah, it doesn't seem like this was a maneuver that it planned to do in advance. It looked like it was kind of searching and trying to decide what to do, and then just making a decision and executing. One of the things that it seems like we have going on right now is that when we do these full retrains, and that's what 12.3 is a full retrain of the model. 12.4 now is a full retrain on the model, and 12.5 will be a full retrain on the model. That when we do those and we throw out the old weights and we start from scratch, that what we end up with then is a very rough around the edges system at first. And so they have kind of an extensive process of getting that new model all polished so that it's ready to be into the hands of customers. And we saw this also with 12.3 we'll just say 12.0, that it was, all of 12 up to 12.3 was kind of the same base model. And that, there was fits and starts, and they said, we're rolling it out to customers. Then we didn't hear anything, or not to customers, but to employees. And we didn't hear anything about it for a long time. It was like nothing, silence. And then finally the first customers got it. And then there was like, I think that was 12.2 at that point in time when Omar first started to drive it. And it was kind of sketchy for a little bit. And we heard about potentially safety critical interventions happening. And then finally they get it to the point in 12.3 where they've got some of those kinks ironed out and those bugs figured out. And then all of a sudden they get on this release cadence of just throwing out new updates over and over and over and over again. And the capability of the system getting a lot better. And then you finally, at 12.3.6, you finally see the end state potential of, wow, this is what this base model that we've been working with from 12 to 12.3.6, like this is what it's capable of when we finally worked through all those small quality issues. And it was very impressive, like huge leap forward in capability of 12.3.6 over what we had in version 11. And I think that we're going to see the same type of progression now with 12.4. And then again, when we go through 12.5, that these first releases to customers are probably going to continue to be pretty I would just say unpredictable. There's going to be all kinds of weird behavior, and a lot of it is going to feel like that 2 steps forward, 1 steps back. That I know some of the things that were running into right now with 12.4 are things that had been solved before, but now we're going to have to resolve them on this new model. And you don't just like, you can't copy and paste the solution that you had from 12.3 over to 12.4 and have it work. You have to actually go through the process of solving that problem. And so it doesn't surprise me that we see the car not parking most of the time and then randomly parking sometimes, because that is exactly what 12.2 was doing early on in this phase of getting all these little edge cases, ironed out. So that's what it looks like to me. It is good to see, okay, now we can do some parking with 12.4, and we're going to have to extend that functionality. But I also do love to see the fact that it's not shying away from U-turns anymore. And, that is another piece of functionality that we should see extended here in the near future.
Good. Thank you for that. So before we show the other videos, I want to take a look and take some time looking at what Ashok Elluswamy said. He is the director of autopilot and AI at Tesla. He's in charge of the robotaxi autonomy. Very recently, he posted and said that the end is near. So he's very confident that's coming. Now, he created this article and he posted it on X because, of course, quite a number of the Tesla executives stood up and they want to support Elon as the vote nears. So this is what Ashok said, though. He goes through the history of Elon's importance in AI and robotaxi. So he said, Elon has been the key driver of AI and autonomy at Tesla. He has always pushed us to achieve great things, even when such ideas were seemingly impossible at the time. Some examples. So back in 2014, this is like 10 years ago, Autopilot started on a ridiculously tiny computer that only had 384 kilobytes of memory and puny compute. They didn't even have native floating point arithmetic. He asked the engineering team to implement lane keeping, lane changing, longitudinal control for vehicles, curvature, etc. Many, even in the team, thought that the request was crazy. Nonetheless, he never gave up and pushed the team to achieve this very difficult goal. Of course, now that is pretty common. Every car company needs to be able to do this. This is standard now. In 2015, beyond all odds, Tesla shipped the world's first autopilot system. The second closest such product only came to market many years later. I'll pause there. What do you think, Hans?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically Ashok's justification for why he thinks that we do need to go ahead and approve this Elon compensation package. And a lot of people have made the claim that Elon doesn't necessarily matter to Tesla's success, that, he just hires smart people and smart people figure out all these things. And I mean, anyone who has actually hired some smart people and then tried to get them to do great things understands how hard that is. So, kind of a crazy claim. And if it was so easy, why don't more people do it? But, people are going to be what people are going to be regardless. So, not surprised that people make that statement. But this is just Ashok's point by point examples from personal stories that he has witnessed or, knows of firsthand, how Elon has been a key driver of the development of the technology, and he has pushed smart people to do things that they did not think was possible and were not going to try on their own unless he had lit a fire under their butt and basically forced them. It's like, either you do this or you're fired. Like, that's kind of how Elon operates. And through the Walter Isaacson biography, we've seen lots of examples of this. There's somebody smart who Elon says, this is a thing that's possible. And the smart person says, no, it's not possible. And he says, yes, it is. Do it or get out. And then the thing happens. And it turns out that Elon was right, that the thing was actually possible.
Yeah.
And so that's what Ashok is showing. And then for people who don't know who Ashok is, he is, the head of the autopilot team, and he is one of the primary people who's responsible for FSD version 12, and that it is his leadership of the AI team right now that is delivering us the results that we're seeing in version 12, and that we're finally realizing the hopes of this FSD project that many of us investors have been extremely excited about for a long time. And so, just keep that in mind as you're listening to what he's saying. He's the one who's responsible for actually making Elon's dreams come to reality. And he's saying that that's not possible without Elon.
And he's going through point by point of all the things that Elon pushed and believed it could happen. And then the team actually made it happen when they themselves did not think was possible. So in 2016, Tesla started doing all of the computer vision required for autopilot in-house instead of depending on external vendors. Many people thought it was insane to bet the product on developing the vision system from scratch within a few months, which had taken over other companies a decade or more. Yet we achieved this target within 11 months. This was a strategically important move that started the development of a strong AI team at Tesla. This is why Elon and Tesla have a strong AI team. And of course, now as Tesla investors, we realize AI is a real thing. We're so happy that Tesla is a leader in AI because of this. Not only did he
Yep.
push for strong AI software, but also for powerful AI hardware. Tesla, which others thought was just a car company, was making custom silicon to run neural networks efficiently. This hardware that was originally designed in 2017 came to production in February 2019, remains extremely competitive with hardware coming out to date 5 years later. For reference, this 5-year-old AI computer is roughly 8 times the AI inference compute as a state-of-the-art Apple M3 chip. It is still able to run the latest end-to-end neural networks built on top of the latest AI technology. This is crazy. 5 years old, and they're still ahead. This is Tesla's not a car company. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of people have questions about whether hardware 3 is going to be sufficient for us to run a level 4 FSD system. But a lot of those people don't take into account the fact that there's not another computer that's on the market that can do what it does even today, at least not within the power requirements and the operating envelope that, you know, Tesla is able to with a computer that basically would fit inside of an Xbox to do what an entire trunk full of NVIDIA hardware would do, that would consume, orders of magnitude more electricity than what that Tesla computer is able to do. And, if that doesn't speak for itself, that a little tiny Tesla box is able to do more than a giant trunk full of NVIDIA hardware, I don't know what you need as proof, but that
Yeah.
kind of speaks volumes to me.
This was so early on as well. I want to get to the videos, but this next point is a big one. So I think it's worth for us to read it. He said this: he was the one who bet on vision and AI to solve autonomy instead of relying on the sensor crutches and high definition maps. I mean, everybody remembers this, right? And it was a big debate, and people thought he was crazy, going to go just drop LiDAR. For anyone who has experienced the latest versions of FSD, it might be obvious that it can see all the important things and drive the car based on just pure vision. However, back in 2020 and earlier, it wasn't obvious to most. In fact, many experts in the field ridiculed Tesla and Elon for these choices. We have proved them wrong by shipping supervised FSD to millions of cars and shown that with good AI software, the car is able to handle the complexities of city driving, such as making turns, handling intersections, yielding to pedestrians just by seeing outside. In fact, we even removed the radars and ultrasonics to just really focus on the heart of the problem, which is AI. Today, it's almost paradoxical that Teslas have the least amount of raw sensors, yet have the most autonomous capability compared to any production car. Pulling off such a contrary bet was only possible because of his extreme conviction and deep understanding of this problem. This is the big one. And now everybody's agreeing LiDAR companies are dying, they're going bankrupt. Previous CEOs of LiDAR companies are now creating new companies that are AI vision only. It's no longer a debate. Vision only works. But several years ago, people thought this was crazy. This is another Elon crazy thing that he did, that his bet was right. And we're so lucky as Tesla investors that we're here today. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that is the uncomfortable position that you find yourself when, in Elon's case, he's able to see these things 5 years before, 10 years before other people are able to see them. And he thinks about them at a level that is so deep that he's able to come to a pretty solid first principles understanding of and make a decision before other people have even understood the problem, much less thought about it. And when you do that, you sound crazy because no one else around, as humans, we basically believe that what everyone says is more likely to be true than what one person says. And so what everyone says must be right. And when you're an early person on something that is true, most people will think that you're crazy because it's not what everyone else is saying. And so that counterintuitive position is uncomfortable. And that's why Elon is such a controversial person, is because he's done this over and over and over and over again. And that history has shown that more often than not, he is correct. And so that's why many of us decide to give him the benefit of the doubt and really try to understand his logic for how he came to that conclusion, because it has proven to be such a valuable early warning system for something that the vast majority of people think is wrong. And, that's where, if you understand something that is true that other people think is false, that provides you an opportunity, whether that is an investment opportunity, whether that is a
Yeah.
technological opportunity, an opportunity to build a product that other people don't think is possible. Like, all of those opportunities exist in that space between this is something that is true that everyone in the world believes is false. And that's one of Peter
Yeah.
Thiel likes to say, that is, what is the one thing that you know to be true that everyone else disagrees with you on? Because that's where you find that opportunity arbitrage gap.
Okay. Let's take a look at 12.4.1. I think the general reaction right now is that it's got a lot of things that it's doing that is blowing people's minds, that it's able to now do that it can't do before. But there's some major bugs that's there. One is lane ping ponging and lane changing. It's come back again. But apparently that bug was something that they experienced, 12.3 or something like that, and then they solve it. So I'm pretty confident they'll solve this one. There's another bug we're going to show, but right now there's some improvements. So let's take a look at this. This is the auto park capability. Huge vision auto park improvements in FSD 12.4.1. Several people have said this. He's congratulating Ashok Elluswamy. Let's take a look at this auto park situation here. So of course, auto park is something that many cars can do. Our Teslas can do this now, but apparently this one is much faster, a little bit more decisive, and just more accurate. So thoughts on this?
And it is vision only. It's not with the ultrasonic. So even kind of building on the point that Ashok was making, that one of the things that Tesla did keep in the car for a long time was these ultrasonic sensors to help out with this parking situation, because this is not necessarily an easy problem to solve with vision only. And even this now is being solved with pure vision. And so, that is another example of one of those counterintuitive things. Like, no vision, like, all we need is smarter. We don't need more data. We just need smarter ability to understand the data and respond to it. And that is the direction that Tesla just continues to lean into harder and harder and harder over time, is that this is an intelligence problem. Let's solve the intelligence problem. Once the intelligence problem is solved, the problem is solved.
Yeah. I mean, when they first removed the ultrasonic sensors, people said that it's terrible. And then, of course, the car wasn't acting well. And then people thought it wasn't going to be able to be done with just vision only. And now everybody's reporting that vision only is better. It's actually going to be better. It can see things that ultrasonics can't see. It can maybe even understand things that ultrasonic can't see. So we'll see. But it looks like that's one of the little things that's been improved. So
just think about the leadership character that you have to know, I'm going to rip these ultrasonic sensors out, or I'm going to rip out the radar, or I'm not even going to have the LiDAR. Everyone's going to tell me that this is crap. And it's going to perform worse for a while, and it's going to look like everyone else is right. But I don't care, because I know that once we finally finish doing the work, it's going to be better. And that's Elon. He just makes these decisions over and over and over again.
So here's a bug, another bug that we have to deal with. I think Elon has already confirmed on Homar's catalog comment that 12.4.1 will not be the one that's going to go out to all users. It'll likely be 12.4.2 or 3. They need to solve these bugs first. Here's one. The navigation route is straight in both of these examples, but it turns on turn signal and slows to turn right at random intersections before bailing out and going straight. Has anyone else experienced this? Let's take a look at this bug. Let's see if I understand what he's talking about. So I guess it's supposed to turn right, and then
It was supposed to be going straight, and then it got
Hmm.
confused, and
Gotcha.
it, I think, tried to follow that lane line instead
Mm.
of just proceeding straight in the lane
Mm.
and getting confused again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, again, the cool thing is that once they find these bugs, they can
Mhm.
solve them. Um, what I'm happy with is I'm not seeing any critical bugs. These are small little things that I mean,
Mhm.
you can argue that that could be bad. But okay, so let's watch another video. This one, it slowed down for a cat crossing the street. 100% reacted before I would have, as I was glancing at the screen to change music, hence the pay attention message. Many human and furry friend lives will be saved. FSD is never distracted. I wonder if this is just new or this is something that was already there before, but please pay attention to the road. He's clearly not looking. And now that this new,
And
where is
there
the
you
cat?
saw at the edge. Yeah, there's the
Oh,
cat.
there it is. So it's slowed down. Let's take a look at it again, just so I can see it. Um, there it is.
I had to watch it several times before I
There
even
it is.
saw the cat.
Yeah, yeah. It's nighttime. It's drawing, and the car saw it. This is
Mhm.
the promise of what this is all about. It's great. Okay, let's watch another one. FSC handling construction flaggers like a pro. So that's one of the things we've been waiting for, right? Is can the
Mhm.
car actually understand a flagger, construction flagger, and follow their instructions? I'm not sure this one example tells us that it's solved, but it's certainly one of the key things we're following closely. Okay, slowed down. So it knew that there's an obstruction ahead. Cars are coming to the left. It knows that there's a person there. That's the construction flagger. It now has a stop sign that the construction flagger is holding. And so it's obeying it. It knows it's a stop sign. And it knows whether or not it just did it because it was clear or he saw
And
the
then
car saw the flaggers wave hands.
it's interesting that in the visualization, and it's hard to know how much the visualization ties into the actual mind of the car, um, but it still showed the stop sign was present even before or even after it started moving. So it was responding to the flagger's hand signal to go ahead and then flipped
Good point.
around to slow. The
Mm-hmm.
visualization still showed the stop sign for another several seconds, but the car was responding appropriately and moving forward and not hesitating. And
One.
so it was
Mm-hmm.
able to understand what it was supposed to do, like, pretty much instantly.
That's brilliant. Good observation there. I didn't notice that. I know that last time we saw previous videos, people were saying that it wasn't that the AI was responding to a hand signal. It was just that they saw the human was backing away or some sort of turn, and that's what it did. But actually, in your example, maybe it's starting to understand hand signals and knows that it's a construction. So interesting. That we'll see if that's good. That's at least it did well. So another one here. FSD 12.4.1 goes around some garbage in the road after it's in the front camera's blind spot. It's possible it has some kind of memory of objects now. More testing is needed. Elon said it remembers. It remembers. So let's watch that video. This is pretty this is great if it's true because it now you can tell me what it means by it's remember. So it sees the garbage there and it went around it, but you see that the camera can't see it anymore, but the car knew that there was the garbage there, so it went around it when it finally got there. So when you saw Elon saying it remembers, is it more than just what Scott Walter said? I've seen object permanence before in 12.3.6 regarding occluded pedestrians and crosswalks. So this is if a pedestrian was walking and then they become occluded for a while, the car knows that they're still there and the car knows that it's probably going to cross over. So it remembered that there's a person there. It didn't just automatically disappear. Is that the same or is this very different, do you think?
I think it very well could be the same. We've definitely heard the autopilot team talking about this. Elon has talked about it specifically, but also in talks by Ashok, for example, at CVPR last year. I think they also mentioned, just the challenge, and Andre Karpathy as well, of needing some sort of persistent memory of things when you can't see them anymore. So, if a person walks behind a car or maybe a large truck where you really can't see them at all, that they need to remember that that's there and include that as a possible, especially if they're walking, like that they should be reemerging from behind that car at this point in time, so that they can have a good idea of where that person is and whether or not that person needs to be someone that they avoid. So I think the significance here is that, they don't want to try and clutter up their understanding of the world by tracking things that they shouldn't care about in a way that they remember. So they want to limit the number of things and the type of things that they're going to remember. And so I think the significance here is that they're remembering something that's not a person, and it's not a moving object. So it's not really not just not a person, but it's not a dog or a cat or anything that it thinks is living and moving and can do anything like that. That it's just a stationary object that is being included in memory. And hopefully the way that they're making that decision is that it is in the roadway. And so they need to remember it, like it's in the roadway. It may not be moving, but we want to remember where it is at all times because it could be in the driving path. And so hopefully there's, that type of intelligent logic that is behind it, and that somehow that logic is just baked into the pure neural net without having to be written somewhere.
Thank you so much, Hans. Okay, so those are a bunch of short, small videos. It's only early access at this point. Now, a lot of people are asking the question, is Tesla ahead? Are they really far ahead? Don't you know that the Chinese, they have so many autonomous car companies out there? Well, let's listen to a professor in China themselves explaining where they think Tesla's FSD ranks against these other competitors. So this is next big future. This is Brian Wang. I've interviewed him. He's on our channel quite often. And he said this: Tesla's FSD 12.x is far ahead of China's ADS systems, which are at best at FSD 11, version 11's levels. This is according to this professor at the School of Automotive Engineering of Tongji University. So this is his opinion. So this is expert states Tesla FSD is better than China's ADAS systems. So this is coming directly from somebody who studies this. And said, according to this professor of automotive engineering, right, the current capabilities of domestic assisted intelligent driving systems in China are basically equivalent of FSD version 11. This is way before the leap in the 12 series, which is now based on neural nets. This is the old coded version. However, the outside world has also questioned before that China's road conditions are more complicated than those in the United States. Will Tesla's FSD be acclimated after entering China? And the autonomous driving industry insiders told reporters that Tesla will use shadow mode when iterating FSD, collecting data through embedded hardware, running the test versions of FSD like a shadow without directly outputting control commands. But the calculation results will be, it is compared with the actual operation of the driver or the control command. I don't know what he's saying here. According to speculation, Tesla has already conducted similar training in China. It's just waiting to obtain road rules. Thoughts on what he said there?
Yeah, so the significance of it being equivalent to version 11 is that, at least inside Tesla, we know that version 11 was built with a combination of some neural networks and then lots of lines of C++ code, supposedly 300,000 plus lines of C++ code. So I don't know if this professor is making the statement that is still the pathway that these Chinese automakers are taking. I would expect that that's highly likely. To our knowledge, no one is really pursuing this full end-to-end neural network approach at large scale, other than someone like Comma AI, for example, whose approach is much more limited in scope than what some of these other companies are doing. And so, I think that that's likely that they are using this combination of C++ code and neural nets, that are not doing the full end-to-end neural network. And, that just has limitations. It has performance ceilings, and that's why Tesla has abandoned that approach, and always knew that they were in the process of abandoning that approach. That's why Andrej Karpathy said many years ago that software 2.0 is going to eat the software 1.0 stack, and what he was saying there was that we're going to eventually reach end-to-end neural networks, and we're not going to have to have lines of code that are written by human programmers, that we're going to use data in order to program a neural network, and that's how we're going to solve this problem.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Hans. That was fun. 12.4.1 is now out to early access. We're going to be waiting for 12.4.2 or 3. When these bugs are fixed, it's going to be rolled out to all of us. And we're going to judge whether or not it's going to be a 5 to 10x improvement. Right now, the sense is that it really is able to do a lot of things it can't do before, but these bugs have distracted people. So we'll see if this is the case. It's a little too early. There's only just a few handful of people. So we'll see.
I'll just remind people, like, this was the exact way that I was feeling when we first saw 12 rolling out. And there's like, oh no, there's bugs here, there's bugs there.
Yes.
And they said that this is going to be way better than the old system. And then I was like, I felt all of these feelings that people are feeling now about 12.4. And I would say, give it some time. We need to let FSD 12.4 out in the wild for at least a month, probably. And then I think that once there's kind of a threshold that they have to get past of minor issues, and that once they get those solved, then we should reaccelerate back into one of those fast release cadences again. And that then we'll do the same thing probably with 12.5 and then 12.6. Like, this is the way that the new full retrain process is going to work. And that doesn't mean that progress is slowing down or that they're not going to solve the problem. And we can at least trust that when Elon said that version 12.0 was a big step forward, going end-to-end neural nets, and then we saw it was hard at first, that what he was able to see and predict early for us was what 12.3.6 was. However he does that, he knew months ago where 12.3.6 was going to be able to get to, and he's saying that 12.4, the end state of that, is going to be even more functional than the end state of 12.3, and that 12.5 will be even higher end state than that. And so it's not, don't judge what the end state of a retrain is going to be based on how it feels when it first rolls out. You've got to give it some time to breathe. You've got to wait. And so far he has delivered on those performance expectations in the context of version 12. And so, I'm still really, really excited about where this is going.
Thank you so much, Hans. Follow him on his YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.